this is Julie and welcome to this week's EdTech tutorial. This week's tutorial focuses on quizzes. Quizzes is an online quiz platform which allows you to modify and create quizzes that you can then assign to your students to complete online. Thank you to Dr. Carol Shutt, chemistry teacher at Hillmore High School, for introducing me and the rest of us to this great resource. To get started with quizzes, go to quizzes.com and in the upper right corner click Sign Up. Then you'll come to a screen where you'll sign in with Google, choose your account, choose your role as a teacher, search for your school and select it, and then choose from a list of different courses that will pre-populate your profile with suggested quizzes. So once you've logged into Quizzes, it's fairly easy to use. There is a menu on the left and there is a menu on the top. So finding a quiz, you could search for something very specific. You can also create a new quiz using either of these two buttons. Over here on the left, you'll see the quizzes that are yours, reports of how your students performed, what your classes are, setting up classes. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Collections of quizzes, and then there is a section called memes, which means that you can create a meme set for your class, just kind of a bonus feature that's in there. So let's start with Find a Quiz. You'll notice that I've been pre-populated with quizzes that match the classes that I chose when I was setting up my profile. As I continue to scroll down, I'll start to see other subject areas, so I didn't choose math, but I can see math as one of my options. So you can really see the whole thing, even though you selected particular classes in your profile. So I could either choose from these, I could create my own, or I could search for one. So let's say, for example, I'd like to search for a quiz on a particular text that I'm teaching. So if I teach 9th grade English, Romeo and Juliet is a fairly common text for students to read, so I'm going to go ahead and search for that. And you'll see that I have all of the quizzes that other quizzes users have created using quizzes for Romeo and Juliet. So I could take one of these and modify it if I like. So I'm going to choose one, and you'll notice here on the right it shows me a preview of what those questions are. So I don't actually have to click on any of these to be able to see what those questions are. I can instead just hover over it and it will preview the questions for me on the right. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this one. And now you'll see that I can play it live. So this is kind of like Kahoot, where when you play live, you have a teacher version on your screen and students have a student version on their screen. You can also assign it as homework, which is really helpful during distance learning. And then you can also do practice. So it sort of works like flashcards or a practice quiz that you can assign to students at home. So there's solo practice play, and then you can share a link to practice. So once I've decided that I want to take this quiz and use it myself, even though it was created by someone else, you can see their name up here at the top, I'm going to go ahead and hit edit because I would like to take out a question and maybe add a question of my own. So I'm going to go ahead and hit edit. It's going to create a duplicate, so it's not going to be editing that teacher's original one. And then you'll see all of the questions that are listed here. The correct answer is being indicated with a green little dot. So I can add a new question. I can do what's called teleporting, and that means pulling in a question from another quiz. So I could go from a different quiz and just pick another question and add it to mine. So it lets me pull in questions from multiple quizzes that have already been created, which can make it much faster for editing and creating questions. I can also just simply add my own new question, and it gives me these 5 different choices. And they're pretty self-explanatory, but let's just click on the poll one so you can kind of see how it looks. So I could put my question in here. And then I put my answer options. And I could continue to add more poll options, and then I hit save. Over here on the right you see the preview of what students will see when they're taking the quiz. You can also add questions just by clicking on these little buttons here at the bottom. So when I am done with editing my quiz, I'm going to go ahead and hit done. And then I'm going to add it to a specific kind of class, because what it's doing is it's adding it to the library of all the other quizzes that I searched to find this one. So I'm going to select English Language Arts 9th. And now it is ready for me to use. If I click over here on the left into my quizzes, you'll see that it's now been included there, so it's been saved for me to reference in future classes. I can also now have the option to delete this, so if I decide I don't want it anymore, then I can delete that. So now when I go to assign to my students, I have to do a little bit of setup the first time I do that, and that is to go over here to classes, and then I can click connect to Google Classroom. I'm going to choose my Google account and allow all of these different options. And now I have the option to import Google classes. So I'm going to select all of my Google Classroom classes that I want to import into quizzes, and then hit save. If you have students under 13, you may need to check this box so that you meet the laws regarding the protection of minors online. So for the purposes of today's tutorial, I'm only going to choose one class to connect to quizzes, but you could connect all of your classes. So now I have imported my class, and you can see my students that are entered in there. You'll notice that it also says hasn't accepted invite. That just means that students have to accept the invitation in their email to be able to access quizzes and use its features. Once I have done that, I can now assign my quiz to my class. So I'm going to click here on the quiz, and I'm going to click on Assign Homework. I can mark the due date, when they should complete it by, the time, and then I can assign it to a particular class. So I only have one class in here. Once I do that, it's going to assign it via Google Classroom. So I would put in the assignment title and then the description, and it will show up in my Google Classroom as if I had included that. I can also set for time for when it will start if I wish to do that as well. One of the other settings that you have as you're setting up your quiz is to decide how many times students can take it. So you can limit the number of times students can take a quiz. You can limit whether or not students can show their answers, be shown the answers in the game. So for example, if they get it right or wrong, then it would show them if they're right or wrong. Validating would be like if they got it right, it will tell them they got it right, but if they got it wrong, it won't tell them the right answer. Show answers post-game to show them how they did at the end. There's also a few other gameplay settings. You can give students bonus points, which is something some students find motivating. You can set a timer. You can show a leaderboard to show which kids are performing better than others. You can do shuffling your questions and your answers options. You can give them a few like freebies, like a lifeline sort of thing, a redemption question, which lets them have a few attempts for certain incorrect questions. You could also let them play music, and you could also show memes or funny pictures after each question that they answer. So once you're ready to assign this to your students, you click continue, and now we have it ready to send to students. So we could click on share a link to share, or we could have set it up in the previous screen. And then we also have a code to answer. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what the student side looks like. So your students are going to go to joinmyquiz.com, and then they're going to put the game code in here if they need to. If you've connected it to Google Classroom, they will be taken directly to the quiz. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit join. I'm going to put my name in. Again, you won't have to do this. Your students won't have to do this if you did it through Google Classroom. It will automatically include their name. Notice that students have an option to turn on music, sound effects, memes, and they can also read aloud, so the questions get read aloud to them. So I'm going to hit start game. You'll notice it's playing the music. Now I'm going to hit start.
Question. If you ever disturb our streets again, your lives shall pay the forfeit of the peace. Option 1. Prince Esquilus. Option 2. Tybalt. Option 3. Lord Montague. Option 4. Lord Capulet.
So now I choose my answer, and it tells me if I'm right. And it gives me a meme. Tells me what my rank is.
Away from Lightseal's home, my heavy son in private in his chamber pens himself. Option 1. Lord Montague. Option 2. Princess.
And I can answer ahead of time if I like.
Question. What light through yonder window breaks?
And I can toggle off the read aloud if I wish.
Question. A pair of star-crossed lovers take their life.
So as I go through the game, it gives me all of these options, and I'm going to get some wrong to show you what happens when I get an answer incorrect.
Question. Which character is the villain? Option 1. Lord Capulet. Option 2. Juliet. Option 3. Lord Montague. Option 4.
This
Romeo.
was a poll question, so there is no wrong answer.
Question. Wisely and slow.
So now it's reduced my streak, and it didn't give me the correct answer.
Question. But woo her, gentle Paris, get her heart. My will to her consent is but a part. Option 1. Tybalt. Option 2. Lord Capulet.
So you'll see here at the bottom I have an immunity, so get a second chance after a correct answer, and that's because I answered so many correct in a row. So I'm immune to an incorrect answer, so I'm going to choose an incorrect answer. Now I get one more chance. And it gives me a power-up. So eliminate one incorrect option. So students can earn these kind of rewards as they're going through the
I think it
quiz.
best you merit.
Alright, so those are the basic features of Quiz is cool. It's got a lot of options, a lot more possibilities, and a lot more teacher control than a resource like Kahoot does. And it also works really well for distance learning. Because of this opportunity to share the link through Google Classroom, it makes it usable for our students from home. So if you have any questions about this, please feel free to email me. Thank you again to Dr. Carol Schutt for sharing this resource with me and with all of you. And I hope you have a great week. Thanks for watching. Bye.